So the other day, my kid was like, I don't want to be an adult because all it is just work. All you guys do is work. And I was like, oh my God, honey, adulthood is not just about work. It's also about being tired.
Hey, fun fans, welcome to Two Guys on Vacation. It's We Enjoy. We are the Meditude, Eric. I'm Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello everyone. We're not taking vacations together or at the same time, Matt. We're just people who in our lives will have vacations at some point.
And also, in our today's main event, we're going to be discussing Two Guys on Vacation in American Werewolf in London,
That's true.
which is a solid ass movie. This movie, obviously there are movies that we love from our childhood. Some hold up better than others. We've talked about this. This one just really holds up well. Like, I think, and we'll get to it obviously in like 2 hours from now when we finally get to the main event. But yeah, it's
Oh,
it's a good time all around. I
oh
enjoy
yeah.
it, and I think that the tone that it sets, obviously, it's not like the first comedy horror movie ever, but I think that it really sets the template for something like Scream. It's kind of a proto Scream in its own right. So
I agree. We'll talk more obviously in a bit about this because it's not a parody. Like I think before American Werewolf in London, there was more of a tendency that if you're a horror comedy, that means you're a spoof. And this is not. And yeah, this movie's reputation has definitely been one that's just grown over time. Like it was, well received when it opened, but I know,
yeah,
like in the decades that followed, it really
obviously the
kind of took off.
transformation scene is iconic, but like
Mhm.
the rest of the movie is just like a really interesting success in
Yeah.
what it does tonally. Do you remember, Eric? This is neither here nor there. Side quest: the show Double Trouble from '84. It was one season. It had twins.
The title's familiar. I mean, besides the term being familiar, the fact that there was a TV show called Double Trouble is vaguely familiar.
There were two twins, Liz and Jean Segal, who were Doublemint twins, and then they got their own sitcom that was short-lived, and they were two of my early formative year crushes.
Sure.
Obviously they were very attractive. I just found out that they were the younger sisters of Katie Segal. Had no idea. Had no idea.
This is a
This is just a me. This is a me
okay.
thing.
I was like, where's this going to connect to American Werewolf in London?
It does not. I said it's neither here nor there. I don't think you heard that part.
All right, all right. I did
It has
miss that.
nothing to do with what we were just talking about. That's what you call an improper tangent.
Sure, sure.
And I'm actually going to kick this off. We have a lot of entertainment news to get into, but I want to kick this because a lot of people like it when we open with you talking about pumpkin spice. And we
Okay.
are still technically spooky season's over, but it's still fall. It's still the time of pumpkin spice and all those things. It still gets dark early and so on. We have a very long message from someone who just goes by ABC on Patreon. But all we know is that they are from Australia. ABC may stand for always be closing, or I don't know. But they take umbrage with the entire pumpkin spice thing and
Mhm.
tried pumpkin pie for the first time. So ABC starts, sorry for the length. I just needed to get this off my chest. Having heard you talk about this kind of food for so many years, I really appreciate the content you both put out and will always be there to support it. Anyway, what is it with Americans and pumpkin? First of all, pumpkin by itself is fine, good even. Need to get that out of the way. However, growing up in Australia, I never had access to any cookies, drinks, pies, or assorted pumpkin flavored food offerings. It sounded insane to like pumpkin flavored food. But having recently moved to Taiwan, I now have access to different American foods, businesses, namely Costco. My newfound love for Costco aside, I was walking through the other day and saw something I'd never seen, a real-life Costco pumpkin pie. I even looked up reviews online, and there was nothing but praise for this Costco version of the pumpkin pie. Long story short, just to shorten it down, tried pumpkin pie, confused by it at first, then bit into it a second time, hated it.
And then eroticized by
Yes. Then third time, yeah. Then it was just an awakened to kink in him he never knew existed. No. How the fuck do Americans eat pumpkin flavored food so much? This is after he declared that pumpkin pie disgusting. Do you all actually like the flavor, or is it just tradition? I don't know if I can trust American taste in food ever again. I am shook. The thing that immediately springs to mind is Vegemite. So I feel like every culture has its own food that other cultures find disgusting. And there's even a psychology behind that, because a lot of like regional cultural foods are sort of unpleasant to taste to outsiders, and that's the point. It's sort of like our thing, and it's a way of identifying outsiders. Anyway, like that goes back centuries. But pumpkin pie, I think, is of a different pumpkinness than pumpkin spice things. What do you think, Eric?
I do too.
Okay, so let's just draw that distinction right there. Okay.
Yeah. But also, everything won't be liked by everyone. There's just like, everyone has their personal taste, and there are things I don't like that a million people love. I'm like, I really don't like mushrooms, which is like a very popular thing for people. Yep. Pickles. Most of my family loves pickles, and I hate them.
You're insane. You're insane.
So, yeah. So there's personal stuff, and then also keep in mind that the pumpkin stuff and pumpkin spice stuff is seasonal. So it's almost being like, and now that's part of course that's a marketing thing on one hand, but it's also probably like, hey, why does the McRib only come back once a year, even though they say this is the last time? It's like, well, if it was on the menu all year, it wouldn't do that great. But by making it a like back for a limited time, it's like, well, if you're into this is your time. So I think you keep that in mind with the pumpkin spice stuff too, is that it is only usually available for a month or two. So it is appealing to, the people who are into it, are really into it, and they can get their fix. And if you're me, you buy 3 boxes of the pumpkin spice Special K from Target, because you want it to last past the time they're selling it. But for everyone else, they live their lives. But
pumpkin pie, I think, is its own thing, because that existed long before the pumpkin spice craze.
Pumpkin pie being like part of like Thanksgiving, and that definitely pre-exists the pumpkin spice sort of craze of the past decade or two. Pumpkin pie.
So like, not to like be a total pumpkin pie defender, because I do know people who like pumpkin spice but don't like pumpkin pie because of the texture, because it kind of gets that morning dew on top of it a little bit, like it gets like residual moisture on top. Yeah,
sure.
Also, just there's nothing really exciting about eating a plain just piece of pumpkin pie. You usually have it with ice cream or whipped cream on top.
But it's so good.
That. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm not saying I'm not out here hating it, but there are like 5 other pies I would rather have at Thanksgiving than pumpkin pie, especially because I've probably overloaded on pumpkin spice in the 2 months preceding that. But yeah, I do enjoy pumpkin spice. Like a pumpkin spice latte does not remind me of pumpkin pie.
No, it doesn't. I love them all. But
they're all my children. They're all my children.
Did you know, Matt, that my wife will not eat pumpkin pie because she once won a pumpkin pie eating contest.
So she burned herself out.
She burned herself out.
Yeah, no. Like basically, you get like so many bites of pumpkin pie in your life, and she used them all at once.
Yeah,
and
prior
she's like,
to
I'm
that,
done.
she liked it, but then she's kind of disgusted by it. So.
I get it. And I just wanted to add this message in here. We'll get to the rest of the messages later. David on Patreon writes in, Eric's mother is great. Okay, so
I agree.
there's a something you can tell Carol Goldman next time.
I will. Hummus.
Hummus. Listeners love her. Okay, let's get into this news. So let's start with the news that you're least excited about, Eric, that you were kind of like, take it or leave it. I don't care. Like, whatever. It's fine for those who enjoy it. I'm just not one of their supporters. And that is the fact that Bryan Fuller, is going to be doing a Crystal Lake prequel series. Who cares? Whatever. That has been ordered straight to series for Peacock. Mid. Well, actually, that one is that last part is mid.
But you did leave out. You left out that A24
and the No, I wasn't done. And then
you were.
It's also being produced by the producers of A24. So yeah.
Well, the producers of A24 are A24.
I didn't know if that was all the producers of A24 though. It listed 3 names, and I was like, I don't know. Is this all of A24?
That production company.
So anyway, so that was the news that came out this week after we have talked a bunch on this podcast about how, sad it was that like the Friday the 13th series, at least as far as Jason Voorhees and as a hockey mask wearing, machete wielding maniac goes, is like, as far as a new film, it's all been tied up in legal hell. This series is a prequel. We don't know exactly what era, when it will take place. We know he's going to get Pamela Voorhees in there somehow, though. It's Bryan Fuller.
Brian Fuller is, let it be known that, he loves Bryan Fuller.
Yeah.
Look,
so Eric, you texted me and you said, worst news ever. I'm out of the entertainment business for good.
No, I mean, this is like, is it special Christmas for me? What is happening?
Is this the pumpkin spice of news?
Right. This was insane. Like, I couldn't be more happy about this. I mean, because like, hey, the Friday 13th has a franchise has been dormant since 2009. And caught in this legal, just non-stop legal issues that stop a new movie from happening. So to have this show happening at all, to have it be Bryan Fuller, such a great creator who made like one of, not just one of the best horror series ever, but like one of our favorite series ever. I'd say I can speak for Matt and I on that with Hannibal.
Hey, I mean, you're right.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And, A24 is like this extra, topping that we're getting, because it's like, I love A24 stuff. It's very surreal, because if you'd think if Friday 13th comes back and it's like a big production company, it'd be Blumhouse.
Well, that's the funny thing, is like, because we had Michael Myers is like the one slasher that people are like, oh, that people hold the most reverence for. Yes. Because of the first movie. Obviously he's had trash installments since then, but everyone's like, oh, we really want a good one. And with like Jason, we're like, oh, like send him to Mars. Or like, what if Jason was on a dinosaur? Like, he's the most playful, because they've already sent him into the future, into space. It's kind of like you could do anything with him. So A24 seems like, because it is known for elevated horror, it seems like it's kind of almost a 180 from what the series had been doing. So yeah.
But also Bryan Fuller is kind of a great person for that, because he's artful, grotesque, Hannibal being a very artful show.
Oh my God. Like I think Hannibal was, before the Babadook and all that stuff, was sort of like one of the like forebearers of elevated horror. It was on TV, obviously, but like, that was like, even horror fans were like, I don't know if I like this. Yeah.
Right. And then I was trying to say this next part succinctly about, we don't know the exact plot of this show, but the assumption that me and most made was, hey, this is an ingenious way to get around the legal issues, because Victor Miller, the writer of the original movie, won his lawsuit that he now owns copyright to the first movie and anything they do with it going forward. But that meant he couldn't touch adult Jason, who was considered a separate character, the hockey mask. And you can't make a Friday 13th movie that doesn't have hockey mask Jason in it. It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't sell. But I was like, this is ingenious, because Victor Miller was listed as an EP on this. It's like, oh, yes, so do a prequel. I bet anything it will eventually overlap with the original Friday 13th, like Bates Motel and Hannibal did with their source material with Psycho and Red Dragon. But now there's been more talk, because then people noticed Larry Zerner, lawyer Larry Zerner, who played Shelley in Friday 13th 3, noticed that the guy who runs Horror Inc., which was the company that was suing with Sean Cunningham, saying they owned the first one, he's an EP on this. And then Bryan Fuller did a big interview with Fangoria where he said, this is not a Hannibal situation where they can never touch Clarice Starling and Sound Slams. They do have access to everything Jason, everything from the movies if they wish. But he did mention the movies is still a nightmare legal issue, and that's probably why this show got the green light, was people wanting to make some money off this franchise while the movies are still impossible to work out the legalities of.
But it's working for Chucky right now, as far as like taking a long running horror franchise with a beloved slasher to series, right? Like,
it definitely can work with someone that created Fuller can work. And then, it's like, I do think it's going to be, and he said he made a funny comment about it being a pre-remake cool, which even kind of seemed to acknowledge he'll redo the first movie, if not at the beginning.
Which makes me feel like it will be a glorious and ghoulish like mixtape, the way Hannibal was, where it takes elements from all the movies, right? Like And then he eventually
could have Jason in the show. Jason could probably be in the show from the beginning as a kid, but could he get to like part 2 out in the woods, sack over his head Jason? It sounds like he could get to the hockey mask if he wanted. This is all getting way ahead of ourselves, because we have no idea how long this show will last. It could just be about the Crystal Lake in the holodeck from Jason X, and then he could merge his Star Trek and Friday the 13th love together in one movie. He could. And then I'm glad you said Star Trek, because that reminded me of the last thing I wanted to say on this, which is I also understand there's some cynicism around Bryan Fuller is beloved, but also Bryan Fuller has very notably left, whatever the circumstances, almost every project he's been involved with since Hannibal, and even before Hannibal, because was it Dead Like Me? Was the show he did?
Dead Like Me, the Netflix show.
No, there Bryan Fuller dead. It was called Dead Like Me. There was a Showtime show that he created and then only did the first season of. But famously, he developed Star Trek Discovery. Was gone before they actually did the season. I think he was attached to Amazing Stories briefly for Apple. That didn't work out. And then American Gods, he did the first season and then was gone after that. He seems like he clashes a lot with studio executives and other EPs. All that being said, I totally understand that people would bring that up and make jokes about that. But I will say, A, look at Hannibal, which ran 3 seasons. He was there for all of it. So A, it's possible. And B, you can only hope that something like Crystal Lake won't have the Star Trek level, like everyone has a say. Everyone, you hope that they'll turn over the keys to Bryan Fuller and be like, do your weird shit, because they're not precious about Friday 13th, because as you just mentioned, Matt, anything kind of goes with Friday 13th.
Right. So from great, amazing, almost too good to be true news to crazy news, which this broke over the weekend, which is that either the second or third Hemsworth, depending on how you rank them. I'm actually a Luke is better than Liam kind of guy.
But let's say on celebrity, he's certainly the second. I mean, yeah, as far as like people knowing who he is, he's
sure. I guess. I suppose. Also, the one who's
he was
the one
in a
with
huge
the
movie franchise.
But like 15 years ago, I don't know how long. It was a while ago. And also, he's the one who literally, of the other 2 Hemsworths, if we're not going with Chris, has the Geralt physique. Already sort of in lock. Henry Cavill is leaving the Witcher series after season 3, so that's still coming. He's not gone yet.
He already filmed that, yeah.
And then season 4, Geralt of Rivia, the lead character from The Witcher of The Witcher, will be played by Liam Hemsworth, the third Hemsworth in my eyes. And I don't know if the reason why it's like Luke Hemsworth has been in 2 MCU movies playing like an actor who's being a silly middle school production version of Thor.
Right.
A joke for his brother. That it feels like anytime a Hemsworth dresses up as another character now, it feels like a spoof. So I don't know, like I'm just going to feel like this is a weird spoof within The Witcher of itself, but we'll see. He will be playing Witcher. So yeah, a full title character replacement with a lesser celebrity. Geralt. And a lot of speculation.
Geralt? I've never seen The Witcher.
Geralt.
Okay.
Hard G.
Okay.
So yeah, he's playing Geralt, and a lot of speculation about what this means as far as like Henry Cavill and the DCEU. Is he leaving because of his Superman duties? Is he leaving because he doesn't like where the show's going? Is he leaving because also maybe he only signed on for 3 seasons and he's really expensive in season 4 and they're getting a huge, buckaroonie break with Liam Hemsworth. But yeah, this is happening whether we like it or not. And I can only assume, can't say for sure, but I can only assume, especially just because going into season 4 is already kind of long in the tooth for Netflix shows these days, that season 4 will be the final season. That Liam Hemsworth is filming the final season of Witcher.
this now that Liam Hemsworth is the Ted McGinley of The Witcher, it does seem doubtful that it'll go another several seasons, but who knows? I say that Ted McGinley was also actually on several seasons of the shows that people joke about him coming into the
Tim McGinley also didn't like play Al Bundy all of a sudden.
No, I know.
Like he wasn't the lead. He just replaced a name. He just became
he just became a new supporting character.
Yeah, he didn't become an existing character. He was just came onto a show.
He did become to Al Bundy. That would have been amazing. Yeah, so I don't have any vested interest in this because I have never read, played, or seen a Witcher. I understand, of course, that people were going to be upset about this, especially because I knew Henry Cavill, very famous, very popular, and also I did know, huge real life geek, hot geek who loved The Witcher prior to playing this character. Now, I will say people were like, there's people that are like, give Liam Hemsworth the chance. People are like, yeah, but Henry Cavill was a real fan. Well, that doesn't really matter performance wise.
Do we know that Liam Hemsworth is not a real fan?
We don't.
Okay.
But also, it's like there are lots of actors you've loved playing comic book and book characters who never read the source material, guys. So that's not a problem in and of itself. But also, because the very first thing people thought was, because it was right after it was so publicly like, I am back as Superman. Yeah. I am back. Where it's like, it's because of that. And I'm like, well, it's not direct. It's not a conflict. It's not a like, oh, we couldn't work out the scheduling, because that's not a thing anymore. Because in this day and age, when huge stars are doing streaming series and huge movie franchises left and right, they work that shit out. And Witcher would have been first, and there's no Superman movie about to film. There was an issue behind the scenes, and you mentioned all the possibilities, and like, was his contract up, and there was a dispute over, what he would be paid for a new contract possible. There's so much fan speculation because fans don't like fans of the source material don't think the writing has been good, especially in season 2, and they think Henry Cavill is on their side, and maybe he left because he agreed because he's a true fan. But out of that speculation, but I'll say, it's not just because like I can't do it because I'm Superman now. There had to have been a falling out of some sort, because there was even quotes from him where he was like, I'm on board, I'm committed to doing all 7 seasons. Again, we've talked about, will they actually make 7 seasons on Netflix? So something happened that made him decide that he wasn't, whether it was they won't pay him his,
and there were people,
just issues with that, we don't know.
Yeah, like there were people who had obviously no idea what the Witcher books or games were, and were watching for Henry Cavill. Like, so we'll see if the story is will hold them on for a complete replacement, which with a guy, Liam Hemsworth as Geralt. There'll be a scene where he takes a bite of pumpkin pie and he's like, oh, that's disgusting, I'm Australian. I hate it.
I have nothing for or against Liam Hemsworth. Yeah, he is like, he does not have the charisma his brother has. I think he's fine as an actor, but he hasn't like popped for me in anything. And I say,
did I talk to you? I think I mentioned it on the podcast, maybe, which is that like the season 2 of Witcher was bizarre because they got rid of sort of the timey-wimey overlapping Dunkirk style format, which they just made it like a straight season because the first one apparently confused too many people. But the fact that they toned down the violence, nudity, and swearing was bizarre. And I know, like, the first season, there were a couple people being like, why does this need to show as many, tits and nudity as Game of Thrones? And they say fuck all the time. It just sounds like Game of Thrones. But like, when you have a show that establishes a tone, and it feels weird that I'm literally like standing up for like, more. Yeah, I want to see more naked people, but like, I don't care if it's women or men. Like, just more nudity. Keep the tone consistent. It would feel weird if from one season of Game of Thrones to the next, they like notably tone down everything, right?
Yeah,
like, it'd be very bizarre. So it was strange that the second season, filled with violence for sure, felt a little more toothless than the first one. So,
maybe their numbers said it was skewing younger than they thought. I did see, again, this is someone who doesn't know this world at all, but having heard, it's like that there was some confusion over the timelines, and also that Henry Cavill doesn't have a lot of dialogue. I did think, I can't remember who tweeted it, but someone I follow tweeted that, there'll probably be a lot of people, if they don't hear this news, that don't realize he's playing Geralt for several episodes, because it's like, oh, who's this new guy who's walking around.
Just like you just see his hair, and you're like, oh, he's just being quiet. Well, Geralt.
Right.
All right, let's just break down these are these all MCU news?
They're all Disney Plus.
All Disney Plus MCU news. Okay, Aubrey Plaza has joined Agatha Coven of Chaos. Reportedly, nothing's announced, as the villain. People are saying, we've already got our Mephisto truthers out there saying like they were finally getting the Mephisto of it all, but that's not necessarily, well, at this point, I never want Mephisto. I want to keep the speculation constantly alive, unless it turns out to be Madison from She-Hulk. Okay.
And then look, Aubrey Plaza, love her. And then people mentioned it's a mini Parks and Rec reunion because Catherine Hahn had a recurring role on that. And I guess there's some weird rumors Amy Poehler is going to be in Agatha, but I don't know if that's just because people think it'd be funny if she was, or if there's actual rumors.
And then Nick Offerman, and then
and Star-Lord.
It turns out Agatha Coven of Chaos is just Parks and Rec in the Marvel Witch world. which actually now sounds probably better than that show will be, but we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay, and then the announcement came out about Vision Quest, which is one word, sort of like WandaVision
not an
was.
announcement. And Trade saying it. Marvel hasn't said anything yet.
Yeah, that's true. And just like Marvel has also not announced officially, because Deadline reported it, that Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is in talks right now to play Wonder Man for Disney Plus series. That will also have Ben Kingsley on it as Trevor Slattery, and yeah, that's all the news that's fit to print. Vision Quest will obviously star Paul Bettany and continue that storyline. Fans are wondering if like this is where we see Scarlet Witch next. We're wondering if where we'll see Wonder Man first, if it'll be on the Wonder Man show or on Vision Quest. So yeah, lots of MCU Disney Plus news.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is a great actor, also sort of collecting franchise roles left and right. This will be his third comic book character. He's already 2 DC characters because he was.
And he already called one DC role clown work when he referred to his Aquaman.
Yeah, but that was I think a little taken out of context. But yeah, so he's Black Manta in the Aquaman films. He was Dr. Manhattan on Watchmen, the series. He was also young Morpheus in the recent Matrix movie. So yeah, lots of notable like ongoing characters for him, and also I think shows because he's currently Black Manta, it's just like at this point they're making too many Marvel and DC things to be precious about the actors.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and
you're just gonna see them.
And at this point, I remember when like Gemma Chan was like, she's playing 2 MCU roles. That's crazy. Now it's just like whatever. Everyone can play multiple roles within the MCU. Who gives a shit?
And Aubrey Plaza was Lenny on Legion, which of course isn't MCU, but is Marvel. But it wasn't even like the main X-Men movies. So it's like, I joked that it'd be cool if she was playing Lenny. She's not.
And her character was like created for the show. It wasn't sort of like
it wasn't a comic character. But also I just want to mention, look, I'm actually, I mean, you cast a cynical eye at Agatha. I hope it's great, and I think it might be great because it sounds like a show that can really do whatever it wants. But we should also mention Jack Schaefer. She is being given really her own corner of the MCU. She was the head writer on WandaVision. She is the head writer on Agatha, and she's the head writer on Vision Quest. So she has like the Wanda corner.
It's interesting, that these specific writers get these little corners now that the MCU has pockets like that. That's a lot of fun. I do feel I didn't mean to cast aspersions on Agatha Coven of Chaos. Only meant to suggest that a Parks and Rec version of anything
would be the better version.
Would be the best version of that thing.
I would agree with you on that. Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, in other comic book news, DC side of things, is that Kristen Milotti. How I Met Your Mother, Palm Springs, has joined HBO Max's Penguin spinoff series as Sophia Falcone. So that's
daughter of Caroline Falcone. So it's going to be kind of like her and Penguin vying for power in the wake of the events of the Batman, where Carmine didn't come out of that so great. You've had enough months to see that movie. No, love her. I love her playing this kind of role. And yes, this means she won't be the sort of gigantic version of the character in the comics unless it's all special effects. And I doubt it if it is. But I think that's fine. I think this will be like to see quirky little Kristen Milotti play like a mob boss.
And and those who watched Gotham for all the years it was on know that character too, because that was a live action version of her. Can't remember the actress who played that character. All right, let's get into I don't know. Let's just get into our good things to enjoy. We got some reader email here. This is going to be, again, I said this is a big episode. Ryan writes in email. Okay, so Ryan at We Enjoy, he wrote into weenjoypodcast@gmail.com, and he says, hey, Matt and Eric, I was just curious if you guys have seen the Amazon original movie, The Vast of Night. It's a movie set in the 50s in a small town in New Mexico where an operator picks up a weird signal listening to her friend's radio station, and then she and someone else both try to figure out what it is. It's a low-budget movie, around $700,000, from a first-time director, and I highly recommend it. Eric, I have seen The Vast of Night. Have you seen it?
Wow. I have not. I hadn't even heard of it.
Oh, I reviewed it for IGN. So, Ryan, if you want to read my review of The Vast of Night, go search that title and IGN, and you will find it, because I really liked it. And so much so that it still appears on IGN's like best Amazon or best streaming movies or whatever, like compilation listoids, because it was one of my favorites of that year. Yeah, it's a low
and
budget.
you're probably the only person at IGN who's seen it.
It's possible. It's possible. Probably the only person besides me and Ryan who's seen it. Probably. So who knows?
But I'm glad you both like it. So hey.
Yeah. And then Ian writes in once more from the UK. Hello, my beloved Enjoy Boys. Just wanted to say another great recommendation from both that I thoroughly enjoyed this Halloween. I can't remember who recommended the movie, but The Ritual was just fantastic. Great horror film. And I thought it thoroughly creeped me out and scared. So a massive thanks to you. And then he wants to recommend a movie to us called Nitram or Nitram. Have you heard of this?
No.
Caleb Landry Jones is in it.
Okay.
Who Ian suggests deserves an Oscar for that performance. I don't know what it is. I have to look. I don't even know where you can watch it or what kind of movie it is. I make an assumption that it's another scary movie.
Crazy movie?
I would only hope. I only watch crazy movies now.
Okay.
So speaking of which, I watched Terrifier, which is free to watch with ads on
Not Terrifier 2, which has been this like very successful small release in theaters.
Yeah, well, I wanted to watch the first one,
right,
so that I could have context for Terrifier 2, why there's a second terrifying Terrifier.
Sure.
And so for those who've seen it will know what I'm talking about, which is like, yeah, one thing I knew about Terrifier 2 is that it was not making people shit themselves with their mouths wide open, but making them vomit and pass out. So a separate category of audience reaction. I didn't know if like the first one, I assumed the first one was also gory, but I didn't know if it would be at that level of that Terrifier 2 is supposed to be bringing it. And I'm watching it. I'm like, yeah, this is actually pretty well done for a very micro budgeted movie. It's really a simple story, if you can even call it that. Mm-hmm. And it's the practical effects are really great because it's super gross. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is gross, but nothing I can't handle. And then like, I don't know, I want to say 25 minutes in, I was like, yeah, this is fine, but oh my God, like there's a murder that is so like unnecessarily uncomfortable that is kind of like, and so yeah, anyway. So if you love on-screen kills that are like revolting and uncomfortable and just like wrong in almost every way it can be, then I recommend Terrifier, I guess. Okay.
Eric Diaz on Twitter said something about how he had been debating seeing Terrifier 2, not sure if it was going to be his cup of tea, but then he read someone's quote about like, the diarrhea scene was too much for me. And it's like, nope.
So spoiler for Terrifier
2.
No, Terrifier.
Oh, maybe both.
The first one. I don't know which one he was referring to.
I don't know the details.
There's a dude there's a guy in a clown costume. His name's Art
the
the Clown.
No, I don't know the details.
Okay, I'm just saying it's the second worst thing he does in the movie.
Okay. Nitram, by the way. Nitram I see is on Hulu and AMC Plus.
All right. Does it look like a scary movie? What does it look like?
It looks like it's
sci-fi. What is
Caleb Landry Jones is like got his head against a mirror image of himself that's all distorted. So it looks like,
so he's starting with the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Kieran writes in on Patreon. First time getting in touch as a Hudson Hawker. Thank you, Kieran. But I've really been enjoying the werewolf recaps, and I wanted to drop a message about a couple werewolf-related things. The first is I did my PhD on unmade Hammer horror movies in Leicester in the UK.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And I enjoyed the Curse of the Werewolf episode a lot. The sets of the Hammer's Curse of the Werewolf were actually built from for a film set in the Spanish Inquisition that got canceled called The Rape of Sabina, hence the seemingly random Spain setting. Secondly, Craig Ian Mann has a great book on the history of the werewolf movie called Phases of the Moon, which I'd recommend to anyone wanting to dive even further into the werewolf subgenre. So thank you for that. And then I won't get into this one, Michael, from Michael on Patreon, because it's more spoiler for the first Terrifier movie, and we'll just leave that out. I don't want to spoil you, Eric.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm racing to see these movies, but at some point I probably will.
Well, Chris Jericho is apparently in Terrifier 2, so that's sort of like, that piqued my interest a little more. Okay. Let's talk about our good things to enjoy. Eric, what do you have for us this week? Do you have more physical media corner, or what's going on?
No, I don't. I have a movie that I believe you also tweeted about
Oh,
watching
I was
recently.
actually, it was between this and that. I didn't.
I made sure you weren't doing this because
Okay.
I was like, I know
actually, I flipped a Harvey Dent coin
we
beforehand.
both recently watched this movie, so there was a very good possibility that
All
you
right.
would do it too.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing it then, because then I don't have to do it next week. All right.
No, mine is Resurrection, which is the 2022 movie Resurrection. Got a very limited theatrical release earlier this year before moving pretty quickly to where it was meant to be. You know, it had already been planned to be, which is Shudder, which means it's also on AMC Plus. But Resurrection is this year's wow, look at Rebecca Hall be amazing and give an Oscar-worthy performance she will not be nominated for a movie. Psychologically break down before our eyes for our entertainment and prove how great she is.
She's become, I mean, she's been in our movies. We've been watching her for 2 decades now, but like she's become like this elevated horror scream queen in the past couple of years. So yeah.
And this one, first of all, is set in America. She actually gets to use her English accent, which is a rarity for the films she does that are set in America. But this movie is her playing a single mother, and she's got a very good career. And then one day she spots Tim Roth, not playing himself.
She's Tim Roth.
Not a fan. No,
yeah.
She spots Tim Roth, who is clearly someone she recognizes and someone who the sight of him unsettles her to her core and basically begins her spiraling out of control, that this man has begun popping up, and he does sort of insidiously begin popping up at different places she is, at the park, at the restaurant, at all these different places. There he is. And it really turns her into a crazy person. That she has a daughter who's just about to turn 18, who she goes from being somewhat protective of to insanely protective of, doesn't want her to leave the house, is so terrified that this man has returned to her life. I don't want to give away like what the backstory here is. It's kind of a big moment in the movie finding out. But I will say that, you know, first of all, the movie just hinges on her performance. And guess what? It's a fantastic performance, that she is so fantastic and so sort of empathetic, and so playing a character that's doing kind of upsetting and damaging things to her daughter and to her life. But you feel bad for her because you can see that this is something that is just rocking her to her core. But then also this movie goes to some weird ass places. Once we find out what the story is and what Tim Roth's deal is and what he says and claims, it has a weird side that gets much weirder by the ending in the movie, which is probably kind of a divisive ending, I'm sure, for people, because it's definitely this is up for your interpretation ending. It's one of those endings that, like, what really happened, you have to decide for yourself.
Saving Private Ryan. Like, did they save him? I don't know.
But
in this game, they saved him.
Yes, they did save Ryan.
Or did they? Was that his dream?
Or are they trapped in purgatory?
I think it was all Jacob's Ladder. Yeah.
Yes. No, but I really dug this movie. I wouldn't quite say it is. I loved it as much as The Night House, last year's wrenching Rebecca Hall trauma movie. But I still thought it was really powerful, really strong, and she's fantastic. And then I also just have to say, yeah, Tim Roth is great. Kind of really getting to turn up the creepiness, and when you kind of find out the deal with his character and kind of understand, like,
I mean, that is his best. That's his factory setting. Like, that's Tim Roth at his best, is just sort of being unsettling.
And I really liked Grace Kaufman, who plays her daughter, who actually has worked quite a bit. When I look at her IMDb, she was on The Last Ship, which I saw a few episodes of early when she must have been a kid when she did that. And you know, she was on the Bad Teacher TV show, but she plays her daughter, who is just like, you know, they're you know, it's a single mom and her daughter, and they have a close relationship, even though her daughter is obviously trying to kind of like get her independence. But then things go horribly awry when her mom starts to just like freak out and be like, you cannot leave the home. And I really liked Grace Kaufman's performance playing that character. You know,
it's a very small cast,
very small,
because so much of it is following Rebecca Hall's character around, which
there's really only one other. There's really just 4 main characters. The guy she's having like an office like side fling with is the only other sort of main character. So it's a very intimate movie. But yeah, I really.
So was The Night House.
So it's again, The Night, very much so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's her wheelhouse right now.
And it is, and I just wanted to keep doing these. Okay, mine is again, spooky season's over, but we're still doing spooky recommendations because we kind of watch this still within the spooky season window. Also, there's no rule. That's arbitrary. Mine is the movie that I mentioned last week that I was trying to watch but found it difficult to find, which doesn't bode well for you, dear listeners, which is Osgood Perkins' The Black Coat's Daughter. And which is I found it's A24, so that already I think gives you an idea of what sort of
gives you a starting point,
creepiness that you're about to watch, which is very slow and slow building, but it's also extremely unsettling. And again, it is a very quiet at times, and also immensely disturbing movie at times. And again, like you, I don't know how much I can fully say about it, except that it involves two girls at a sort of a private Catholic high school who aren't going home when everyone else is going home for a February break. And it's snowbound, and they're sort of in the school, and their parents are supposed to pick them up soon or the next day. And one is Kiernan Shipka, who became sort of notable for a breakout role on Mad Men and was on Sabrina, the Adventures of Sabrina for Netflix. And then Lucy Boynton, who's a British actress who's been in a ton of things, none of which I did actually watch The Politician, but I just don't remember much about that. But she's been in a lot of stuff. And then so you're sort of following their story in the school. At the same time, you're following a separate story of a couple played by James Remar and Lauren Holly picking up a hitchhiker or sort of a stranded young woman at a gas station, played by Emma Roberts. And these stories all sort of do tie together. I won't say what happens, but yeah, it's a very there's a supernatural element to the movie, but I won't go into what it's all about. Having it set at a Catholic school, maybe you can guess. I'm not sure, but Black Coat's Daughter, it's just one of those really good meditative slow build horror movies that I found very effective, and I'd heard good things about it and wanted to see for a year or more now, but specifically Oz's appearance on Queer for Fear reminded me. I was sort of like, oh yeah, I always wanted to watch that. So I watched it on Showtime Anywhere, but that's because I have a DirecTV subscription, but it's also on Fubo, and then I guess rentable. But Fubo, what is Fubo's deal, Eric? What is the
I do not know Fubo's deal.
All I know is that you need a Fubo account, though. It's not like Pluto TV with ads, right? Like Fubo, you have to subscribe to.
But
they seem to show up on everything, so
it does. But I will say that it's on any way you can watch Showtime, including has an add-on on Paramount Plus. With continued rumors that they might just finally merge them completely at some point. So we'll see about that. Lucy Boynton, looking at her credits, I definitely saw her in Bohemian Rhapsody. She played Mary, his long-term love interest.
Yeah.
And it looks like she had a smaller role in Murder on the Orient Express. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do want to mention before we leave this corner, Resurrection, just that Rebecca Hall has the second of this year's utterly fantastic, several minutes long, wrenching, crazy monologue with no cuts after Mia Goth and Pearl. Both those movies have a scene where their lead character kind of explains her deal to someone who's not prepared for what she's about to hear, and we just stay on an actress giving a fantastic monologue. So wanted to mention that, and that I want to see this movie you're talking about.
Yes. All right. Let's move on. Next week's main event is Ginger Snaps, which you can watch
a lot of places,
a lot of different places. Peacock, Shudder, also AMC Plus, Vudu with ads, Tubi with ads, Pluto with ads, Redbox with ads.
Yes.
So if you're like me and Eric, who don't care about ads, which I was watching a lot of stuff on Roku channel with ads the other night, just because I was like, hey, I don't care about ads, so I'll just watch it. Okay. Ginger Snaps, movie I've never seen. So yeah, a werewolf movie that is I know about, but I've never seen it.
I believe it was a early pandemic movie for me. I had finally decided to watch it, and I think it was early in the pandemic.
Not to be confused with The Snap from Thanos.
No.
Ginger Snaps.
Or
Ginger
maybe
Snaps.
it is. You don't know. You'll find out.
I want to ask ABC from Australia, who now lives in Taiwan, what do you think about Ginger Snaps, the cookie? Like, do you have ginger flavor over there as far as like confectionery items? And do you find that also revolting? I just want to know about what. I don't like all American food either. No one does. But
Like I said,
I do like pumpkin spice things.
Yeah.
Maybe not everything. Maybe not pumpkin spice hummus. But
yeah, pumpkin spice hummus. I was like, when I saw that one at Trader Joe's, I was like,
I don't even think
I
I don't think I've tried it. Have I tried it? Who knows? Okay. So American Werewolf in London, so good. As mentioned at the top, there's a world where this is a proto Scream, in the sense, sort of tagging back to the other conversations we've had about 80s movies featuring protagonists who grew up with monster movies, like 80s movies. So if we think of Scream as a new generation, 90s young people who grew up with 80s slashers.
Yeah.
The 80s protagonists grew up with Hammer films and Universal monster movies. And so now we get these lead characters who know the rules, as if it's not like Walking Dead, which was like a huge deal when Walking Dead started.
That they will actively never have heard of a zombie.
They
fiction.
never knew what a zombie movie is, or the genre, or the rules, or anything like that.
Yeah.
That is all completely new to them. Whereas now we get into the 80s, and a lot of these characters actively know what vampires and werewolves are. Like, it's part of the American pop culture lore because of movies and comics and all those things. And so not only that,
we
but
get two movies. I mean, The Howling as well, right? There was like, they're like name dropping and showing clips from these famous movies that we've talked about on this podcast recently.
This movie, the lead characters call out these movies we've already watched. And, what are their, I have to remember. I actually have to actively remember their name. David and Jack like talk about when they see the pentacle, the pentagram in the bar, they're like, this is like the Wolfman.
Yeah.
And later when he's talking to Nurse Alex, he brings up the Wolfman, and then she actually says, oh, you mean the Oliver Reed one? Curse of the Werewolf. He's like, no, the one before that. Like, they're actively bringing these movies up in the same way that Randy Stu and Billy are like talking about slasher movies from the early 80s in Scream.
Or say the werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom and mention The Howling in Scream.
Right. And the other thing is that there's an element here where I don't know, I haven't actually heard Tarantino talk about American Werewolf in London, if he was a fan of it. I assume he liked it because he grew up with all these movies.
Yeah.
This movie reminded me so much of Tarantino, of the tone that we would get later with him in the 90s, as far as it's not an outright comedy, but there's a light banter and a natural banter, a pop culture banter to the main characters that make it comedic because they're snarky and sarcastic with each other and fun. But then there's like, oh God, there's horror in the middle of it. Like, even leading up to the werewolf transformation, everything's sort of light and silly. Like, I'm going to be a werewolf, whatever. And when you throw in the end credit Blue Moon tag, because it was a different version of Blue Moon at the end of the movie where it goes baba da baba,
they played three versions throughout.
But the one at the end was the most like tonally jarring as far as what the scene we just watched. It reminded me so much like if Tarantino at this time, like, this felt like it could have been a Tarantino where his take on a werewolf movie. Obviously, we already got like his take on a vampire movie with From Dusk Till Dawn, which was a very unique, different thing. But like, there were elements of this that I felt like were a baseline for what we would get later from him, which is like the levity and the banter mixed with like extreme moments of violence. And because, again, all the way up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, everything is like kind of intriguing and unsettling and funny until like, oh my God, this is a lot of violence against these guys at the end in the house, right? Like, against the Manson family. And so what this reminded me of. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, repeating myself from the top of the episode, but yeah, it's just like the fact that, this movie coming out, like, say, a year after Airplane, which is a goddamn classic, but the fact that it's like, this is not a farce, this is not a parody, the characters are not supposed to be like too wacky to be real people. It's supposed to be like, instead, it's supposed to be like, hey, these are like two guys you would know. It's supposed to be like you and I. It's supposed to be like, two regular guys that are funny, bantering, and then yes, horrific things will happen to them in the middle of that. It does seem like kind of a definite like ahead of its time slash, you know, trendsetter as far as the way it did that. And it is, you know, it's a hard thing to pull off.
This is
but I
like,
think
yeah, this is
well.
another, like, you know, we get these every so often, these tonal miracles as far as like something trying something for the first time. And, you know, The Howling, just a few months earlier when it got released, tried to do a bit of this. Not as successfully as this one, though, I don't think. Like, The Howling is good.
No, Howling is
But
good.
this one is great.
Yes, yeah.
The Howling also has a weird structure in the way it starts, you know, like it's again, like it starts at the third act of a different movie.
Yeah.
This one just is a very traditional. Actually, you know, you think about how little or happens in this movie. Like, it's a very simple movie, and that's to its benefit. And I think it all works really well. So yeah, let's get into American Werewolf in London. Written and directed by John Landis. Effects by Rick Baker. It's got the actress from Child's Play 2, another We Enjoy main event that we've done.
Jenny Agutter, yeah.
It has one
the
bad
MCU's Jackie Agutter, yeah.
One bad F word. I'm talking about the bad F word in here, which you'll find in a lot of
yeah, but it has it.
Movies. Yeah,
it does. Although it has it in a moment where he's like trying. It's like it's not. It doesn't play as terrible as others only because of what he's doing at the moment. Is like, I want to get arrested, be terrible. So at least it's not like. Isn't it funny that he's, you know, getting even with that bully?
I just need to mention it. Yeah, it's not like, it's not Monster Squad, which is like really jarring in the beginning of that movie.
And also, we should mention Landis. It's an interesting movie because there's no other movie in Landis's resume like this. All of his other movies are just sort of straight up comedies. So it's interesting. Also, of course, this is, you know, we should mention this is a year before Twilight Zone, the movie, and the infamous event that would kind of define the rest of his life.
And who is it that died? Vic Morrow and the 2
children. That also makes me kind of think John Landis is a pretty shitty person because of how he's never taken accountability or shown really remorse for that event. That being said, like a lot of people in Hollywood, very talented person who made this movie on the back of Kentucky Fried Movie, Animal House, and Blues Brothers. So it's like he was this like comedy king doing a movie that people would expect to laugh at, which they did. But the fact that it was also a straight up super gory horror movie is the thing that's so fascinating, especially because then he'd go on to make Trading Places, Three Amigos, Coming to America. So it's not like this movie. Honestly, Twilight Zone is the only time maybe, you know, that he ever was going to be in the same realm, and then after that
sort of the same creep space.
Although he also, we should mention, directed Michael Jackson's, you know, famous Thriller video because Michael Jackson loved this movie and was like, you do that for me.
And he's really just a comedy yuck guy as far as like that era. And speaking of movies that really have a lot of cringy moments all these decades later, Trading Places. Whoo, okay.
I haven't seen
Three Amigos, I love. Trading Places, okay. So we've said this for weeks now. This movie is about 2 men on vacation.
2 guys on vacation.
2 guys on vacation. The movie that Carol Goldman thought she was renting us, but didn't. And this was a movie I watched a lot. I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but I did watch it a lot as a kid because my mom's boyfriend for many years, Jay, owned, a movie collection. And so when I have to go to his house in New Jersey on weekends sometimes, and I was bored out of my mind, I watched the same movies over and over again. This was one he had. So I did watch this quite a bit. And I remember when I first saw it, I was kind of thrown as a young kid. I was kind of thrown by the tone.
Right.
Like it was a little silly to me and I couldn't sort of reconcile the two at times. And over time, it became easier. But like at first, I have to say, a little thrown, little knocked off my blocks a little bit. And we start with the English countryside and David and Jack. And this is David.
Whoops, I had myself on mute. And I just want to say one thing was that I feel like I didn't see this movie till a little later. Like, you know, you and I infamously did not see it when my mom rented The Howling. And then it took me a while. Like it was in high school, I think, that I did see this movie. And then
we were just convinced the movie didn't exist. I don't know. We're like, what? We don't know what movie she was talking about.
I knew the title because it's like a very memorable title. But then I watched the movie quite a bit, college, after college. I had like a long run of watching it a ton, sort of, you know, coming to it a little later. And
even the title itself is jokey, right? Because if we're talking about like even in the middle of the movie, Jenny Agutter is reading A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. And so this is sort of a play on that. the movie itself, the title itself is a little silly, and it's sort of like gives you a hint as to the tone of the film. And man, I think I brought up on the podcast that we went to the live taping of the How Did This Get Made version of American Werewolf in Paris. And how that was the first time I'd seen that movie. And like,
not me, I wasn't there for it.
No. And so the elements of like the specific werewolf rules established in this movie, which debunk some old rules and invent some new ones, are present. The only real connector in Paris is those rules. I think there was an attempt in an earlier version of the story to make a character the grandson of someone from this, or a descendant of someone from this movie, but it didn't stick. But yeah, the element of like silver bullets are bullshit, which is usually the one thing that kind of sticks, because even The Howling was like silver bullets, yes, full moon, no. Here it's full moon, yes, silver bullets, no. But you see your victims in limbo as they rot over time. Like,
right.
You can talk to them and they kind of haunt you until the lead werewolf is of you, like basically the head werewolf has to die, whoever killed these people. And that's
I believe American Werewolf in Paris, which I never have seen, but I think Julie Delpy was supposed to explicitly be their daughter.
That's the thing. It was supposed to be like the daughter, like the time they had sex, she gets pregnant, and it's Jenny Agutter, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so David and Jack. So this is David Naughton, who had sort of a brief 80s career, was in some short-lived sitcoms. One was short-lived for a very tragic reason, which was My Sister Sam. And he had his own starring one that didn't make it, called Making It, ironically. And that's kind of, he didn't really go on to do much more. He's still in things, but he was a version of this character in a Sharknado movie.
But also, we knew him, and he was very well known.
Oh, he was
Dr. Pepper guy.
Be a Pepper guy. Yeah, he had a huge ad campaign that ran through the 80s for
because
Dr.
the thing
Pepper.
about David Naughton is he's like a song and dance man. So he, and so he did these Dr. Pepper commercials where he would be like dancing all the time and singing. Go to YouTube and put David Naughton, Dr. Pepper, and a bunch will come up. It was this "I'm a Pepper" campaign.
Yeah,
it was very like flashy.
I'm a Pepper, you're a Pepper, be a Pepper too. And then he sings. He also, as a song and dance man, he sings the "Making It" theme song for Making It. Yeah, which was they tried very hard to be a pop hit. I don't think it was, but the guy who had the biggest career after this was Griffin Dunne, as an actor, producer, and director of movies. Like he went on in the 90s to direct rom-coms like Practical Magic and Addicted to Love and a lot of TV. As well as still acting in these things. Like he still acts.
He was he had a long recurring role on This Is Us. He did like nearly 50 episodes of This Is Us, so a lot of people would have seen him on that.
And I probably misspoke a little bit as far as like the longevity and success of career, with Griffin Dunne being the most, because it was probably Jenny Agutter, who actually had a thriving career before this movie as in British films and stage, and then still went on to work for decades afterwards, including being she's officially in the MCU. We talked about her when we talked about Child's Play 2, because she's Councilwoman Holly in Avengers and Winter Soldier. But yeah, she's still...
So she famously, Jenny Agutter...
And she's on Call the Midwife right now. So yeah.
Okay. But Jenny Agutter got to play Black Widow because Black Widow impersonates Jenny Agutter in Winter Soldier. So she's like the one where, when they're trying to kill all the council and one of them turns out to be Black Widow, that's Jenny Agutter.
Okay. And then... everyone else I don't know. But yeah, so David and Jack, played by David Naughton and Griffin Dunne, are on vacation and
backpacking.
And we should mention too, this isn't fully Werewolf Bar Mitzvah, but these are two Jewish guys walking around. And I just think it's interesting too, especially when we bring up David's dreams later, as far as like, he envisions Nazis like SS soldiers, but they're werewolves, sort of kind of like breaking in and killing everyone in his house, because that's sort of connected to him being Jewish. And also it's brought up in the hospital because one of the nurses looked at his dick. But yeah, so
she's very excited that he's Jewish. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. And they basically, I don't know if this is because it's the 80s that it gives them sort of a more casualness that they're Jewish, and especially Jack is able to kvetch Eric, as your people say,
Yes,
about
as my people
about the
say.
weather, and complain that he's not in Italy, which is where he wanted to go, and Debbie Klein, the woman he's known since childhood that he lusts after. Yeah, so
it's funny because when I went to watch this movie, I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I have this movie on Blu-ray, don't I? And I did, except that it was the very first Blu-ray from it, which is now like 14 years old, and halfway through turned out had a huge glitch where it would turn to it was right when he woke up in the zoo, so maybe 2/3 through, it would turn to the copyright from the end of the movie, and every time I tried to go back to that part, it would do that again. So I finished the movie on Amazon, and then I promptly went and ordered, because I love this movie. I was like, I'm going to order the 4K of this movie that came out this year that Arrow Video put out, which hasn't arrived yet. I wish I'd gotten it in time to watch it for this, but I was looking at it has a ton of special features, and one of them is a video essay by a filmmaker about how Landis's film explores Jewish identity. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool. But yeah, so they're being nice to people in the English countryside, but also a little like, ooh, this is weird, like they're definitely not trying to blend in, or like,
they're not ugly Americans, but they're
no,
like,
no, they're not ugly Americans.
Like,
they're playful,
yes,
they're fun. We have fun here, right? Like they're riding with sheep, and they have, get the sense that these are two longtime friends, and they finally need to they come in from the cold, and they find a bar called the Slaughtered Lamb, and suspiciously it has a wolf head on an axe and a pentagram on the wall, and they don't try to even blend in enough and order like an alcoholic beverage. They want tea, they want something hot, but also no music is playing. But it would be funny if there was a record scratch when they walk in, and they all look at them like,
well, but the funniest moment,
they don't expect outsiders there. It's not a place that people walk around as tourists, I guess.
Well, but it's funny because they walk in and they get looks immediately, but the very phony moment is when the guy, one of the locals, tells his joke about the Alamo, and everyone is dying laughing, and then Griffin
to be fair, it was pretty funny because he's like bloody, more like bloody awful, like this.
But while everyone's laughing, when Griffin goes, excuse me, what's that star on the wall for? And that's the record scratch-esque moment where everyone stops and him saying, it's a very funny moment. Slaughtered Lamb, great name. They've done American Werewolf has a Horror Nights maze multiple times now. It's always been awesome, and it began with you walking into the Slaughtered Lamb, which I just wish was a permanent pub at Universal Studios. Also,
that'd be a lot of fun.
What I really like about this movie is we don't get a full like backstory on this little village they're at. We just know they have their own movie. Like they walked into a movie about a village that's been dealing with a werewolf. And here's
my question, Eric. Here's my question. They kill the werewolf within the first 10 minutes of this movie, as it has already killed Jack and has bitten David. So why didn't they kill the werewolf on their own sooner, I guess, is my question. As far as they killed the werewolf because they felt, I feel like they felt guilty about sending them both out in the rain. But like, does this village have a werewolf problem? Like there are werewolves around, or is it just the one werewolf? Because it seemed like they were able to handle it.
I mean, yeah, but
there's nothing that ruins the movie for me, but it just speaks to how little we know about this actual little town, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because in my memory, like you had seen this movie many times, but hadn't seen it in several years. The one thing I completely forgot was that Dr. Hirsch goes back to that village. In my memory, we never saw that village again, which I actually kind of like more, I think. It's like if we just never even saw them again. We do go back there, but we don't, it's like not like we don't get like some full backstory on here's everything that's ever happened here.
I don't need that, but also are we to assume at the end with, going to the end here with David being gunned down that village is fine now? Like there's no werewolf. Like the werewolf connection's been severed because their wolf's dead.
Seems like it, yeah.
But like I just feel like because that pentagram has been up apparently a long time, like she tells the doctor it's been there a couple hundred years, which I don't think is an actual lie, but it also makes me feel like they just have a werewolf issue going on there somehow. Like maybe werewolves, I don't know. again, there might be more than one werewolf. There might be just werewolves that pop up for other reasons, but I feel like it hasn't been just the one werewolf terrorizing them for centuries in this neck of the woods. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be something with that area where they just kind of exist. So,
but maybe it's just that because the bartender, she's the one who feels the worst about sending them back out there. So maybe it's just like they needed the motivation. Like, this was the night they finally
too far. Ned the werewolf is
we've
die.
sent too many other innocents out there into the werewolf.
The first 200, fine. These two, that's too many. I would speak to the fact that, like, I guess it would be fun not to have seen the Slaughtered Lamb Town again, but like, I like the fact that the doctor here could have been just a run-of-the-mill bureaucratic antagonist, as far as like not believing David. We already had the cop for that. But like the fact that he did like sort of follow up, and it wasn't sort of a traditional doctor role in a movie, because he did the legwork. He's like, you know what? I'm going to see if there's anything to this.
Yeah.
And actually starts believing the crazy ramblings that we always want someone to believe in these situations, especially in Chucky movies, which is just, 3 decades now of no one believing that this doll kills people. So you just kind of want that one person to just sort of take a leap of faith and say, you know what, there's something to it. And even at the end, he is convinced that this town is obsessed with werewolves, and so therefore maybe
it's like a massive psychosis,
like a delusion that has infected David as well. Like, so he's still on board with protecting David from himself in a way. And then very gruesome murder out of the blue for Jack. And
good jump scare, because David's the one who trips and falls, and then Jack goes to help him up, and that's when Jack is attacked. And you get this, like nice character beat of that. These guys are best friends. David runs like hell screaming when his best friend is attacked, but then stops himself and goes back. But then, of course,
so instinctually, like, fight or flight, he leaves, but then he's like, wait a minute, that's my friend. And it's too late, because the werewolf has already made mincemeat out of Jack. And then attacks him, but it's shot dead. And then immediately like doesn't even save this type of revelation for us as people who also John Landis assumes are werewolf knowers and watchers. At this point, we just see the dead body next to David already turned back human. So we knew what this was. We don't need, and the fact that like David catches a glimpse of it as well. Like, that we see that this guy was some dude who was terrorizing this countryside, and now he's dead. And then wakes up in a hospital. We learn in a few minutes that it's been 3 weeks he's been out after being bit. And we meet Jenny Aguder's nurse Price, Alex Price. And this is where we sort of get the farewell to arms nurse patient little sort of romance that starts like blossoming in the middle of this, because she finds David attractive and charming, and she's fun in her own right. And
we should also mention one of the other characters when because there's
the embassy guy.
There's her. There's the other nurse I think he's a Jew. There's Dr. Hirsch, and then there's Mr. Collins, who is the most famous person in this movie.
The most famous person in this movie. I mean, like
the most legendary.
I mean, Frank Oz. I mean, but I don't mean like recognize. Like, as far as like
people would recognize him, but they know his name more than they know Griffin Dunne.
It's Frank Oz as Mr. Collins, who most people couldn't pick Frank Oz out of a lineup, but
even though they love Frank Oz because of everything he's done for us.
Right.
His doing a little bit, and maybe that's just his natural voice. He sounds a little bit of Fozzie when he says this is no reason for hysterics.
Well, there's always going to be one character that a voice actor does that's going to be the most like their normal voice. And I think that's I think Fozzie is the closest to Frank Oz's actual voice.
Landis likes to put filmmakers in cameos. Now, Frank Oz had already been in Blues Brothers at this point. Isn't he like the guy who's giving him all his stuff back?
I don't remember Blues Brothers at all. So,
but Landis, like George Lucas pops up in Beverly Hills Cop 3. Like, he likes to do this thing of putting filmmakers in. But Frank Oz was a recurring person in his movies, and this movie will later on feature a scene from the Muppet Show with Kermit and Miss Piggy being Frank Oz. So Frank Oz is double duty in this movie. Not that he recorded new stuff for Miss Piggy, but. There you go.
And and he's also sort of a comic aside, this character, as far as like somebody who's there and like needlessly pissy with David, who's obviously been through a trauma. And but these hospital scenes are important because it builds up like David after the attack, the aftermath of everything, and him sort of having to slowly come to terms with the idea, the inception seed needs to be planted that he is a werewolf. But also the idea that he and Nurse Price, that Alex can like form a believable romantic relationship, so that when he is discharged, you buy it when she invites him to stay with her. Like it's fun enough that, and like warm enough that you buy that, and also that it's not something that she kind of does. Like she doesn't take patients home, so it has to be sort of a special. I would say special occasion, like a holiday. It has to be like a more, sort of a lightning in a bottle thing that happens between her and David and what he's been through and how she cares for him. All the while, he's also having these dreams that get more and more sort of like curious and disturbing as they go forth.
He's naked, attacking and eating an animal.
And then at one point, he almost even looks sort of vampire-like. And, we do get in some lores, like cross sections between vampires and werewolves, as far as like there is a commonality between them. But they
sometimes vampires become wolves.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. Even Dracula can. Yep. And and famously also in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula becomes a wolf at one point and has sex as a wolf, has howling sex as a wolf in that movie. And but then also let's talk about this one dream sequence, that starts with the Muppet Show and ends with Werewolf Nazi Massacre, that is also a dream within a dream fake out that Eric, I don't know the history of dreams in movies, but this was definitely my first dream within a dream.
No, I believe I think it must have been on the Shudder has that like 101 scariest scenes of all time. And I think this was on that because I just recently I was watching something talking about this being, it's funny to point out, a groundbreaking dream within a dream moment, because it's almost become a expected thing at certain points. But this movie does it incredibly effectively. If it wasn't the very first time to do it, it certainly stands out as a very well done.
If it wasn't the first time it did it, maybe it was the first notable time it did it in horror, or I don't know, just in a wide release big movie. Was this movie a hit? I don't even know. It was
a modest hit.
Yeah. Actually, $6 million budget, it made $60 million. I think that's pretty good for like.
For sure. No, that's great. 81. Yeah. That was a
okay.
hit.
So, but yeah, this whole time. And then then it basically goes from that dream sequence to seeing Jack for the first time. And like the whole, like the "get the fuck out of here, Jack" line is so fun. The way that David Naughton delivers that. It's kind of like, and then Griffin Dunn, the funny part about that is that Jack still acts like Jack as this corpse. Like,
there's no reason to, because it's not, we're pretty much meant to believe that this is really happening. Unlike the dreams, which are obviously warning him. It's like, this seems to really be Jack, like being like, hey, I'm kind of in this purgatory hell until
and it sucks die. And dead people are boring. It's so boring here. And you both believe it because he's still acting like Jack and he's not acting like a Jacob Marley type ghost character.
Right.
But also, you could also lean toward the side that he's a projection from David, because David would remember him as Jack. David would, if David's going to imagine Jack, it's still going to be Jack, even if he's gross and mutilated.
It can go either way, works for sure. And of course, the matter of fact thing, which is that he's like, you got to kill yourself. That like you're going to kill people, so you just got to get. There's no way out. Like again, we talked about these werewolf movies tend to be pretty much tragedies where there's like not a cure.
We're back to werewolf being a curse. Exactly. So after the brief detour in Howling, where everyone was like, hey, we could just be a fun sex commune.
Right.
So
also, I want to mention the dream sequence a little more for a second, just to say that it's so trippy. Like, these demon Nazis, the kids are watching the Muppet Show. It's very funny, by the way. It's always funny to watch movies where things wouldn't get cleared today. Alex's apartment is filled with Disney stuff. She's a
Disney adult, as
Mickey,
they're called now.
Donald, mini figurines. And the Muppet Show, which is now owned by Disney, wasn't at the time, playing on this TV for this horrific scene where children are killed. It's all very jarring and effective. And then, yeah, the dream within a dream in and of itself, but the fact that she's stabbed by one of those creatures, it all works really well. By the way, the closing credits of this movie list Miss Piggy and Kermit among the cast as themselves. So,
Yeah.
Which I think is amusing.
Because they're both werewolves. Well, were-frog and were-pig, respectively.
Well, they have been.
Well, actually, no. It would still be the wolf part. I don't know why I took the wolf part out. I guess it's pig wolf and frog wolf, but yeah. I guess Jack doesn't like offer any other explanation. Well, so here's the thing. On his own, David comes up with the idea to lock himself up, because that's what we see time and time again in werewolf movies, are people who like, lock themselves in a basement. Even like something like, what was the show? Wolf Like Me? Was that on Peacock?
I believe it's a Peacock show. Yeah.
The Isla Fisher show. Where it's like, take steps to like a couple days out of the month, you like go into a basement or a jail cell and just keep yourself away from I do too. And of society. But like, that's not what Jack's selling here. He's like, you got to kill yourself. David had the right idea to lock himself up, but it didn't take. So then eventually, so he's in London now. He's not in the countryside. He's in a big hospital. We've already talked about Dr. Hirsch. We get the cops. There's a sort of a bumbling sergeant who seems to be the kinder and more apt to believe David guy. And then there's the sort of the old timer who gets his head bit off at the end. And then
I did laugh at the younger cop says yes, he'd like some tea, but then gets a stern look from the older cop that makes him take it back. So.
And Dr. Hirsch is certainly set up as a character who you think is just going to be as grumpy and naysaying as the older cop. But then again, like we said, he turns into somebody who's more of a believer, or at least a halfway, I'll meet you halfway kind of guy. And the romance sort of like, and the friendship sort of blossoms between David and Alex. And then, we get to her flat. Basically, there's a stretch of this movie where it's just Alex and David. Like, she's showing him around London a little bit, at least her commute home, and the store, her apartment.
And I like that. It's funny because, yes, it's like, is it a red flag that he says to her that I'm a werewolf, I'll become a monster in 2 days? Sure. But then also she has some nice stuff she says to him. She talks about how she's had 7 lovers in her life and 3 were one night stands. She kind of just being real with him, but that inviting him to like stay with her is not a typical thing. And then I like the line when she says, I find you very attractive and a little bit sad. Basically playing into this, like, the nurse thing. That is, well,
that's the thing, is like she is drawn to those in need, not just for her profession, but perhaps also like in her romantic life. So, and then all of this is a great light build up to what's going to come with the transformation, because it's like all of this is sort of like we're biding our time. And even after, so we get you mentioned there were 3 blue moons in here, but we also have Moon Dance. Van Morrison's song plays while they're having shower sex.
All the songs are
all the moon songs. It's it's as on the nose as you can get. But then he sees Jack the morning after, and Jack's even in a worse state because he's decaying. In limbo, I guess you just don't get to stay as yourself. You actually sort of go through decomposition. And Jack's there to like
the meatloaf line, which I remember was a big, very well received.
Well, it gets a callback in the midst of werewolf anguish, like, and it's all very light. And even the moment like where he's sort of like locked out of the house, is played lightly. Like at this point, dogs and cats are sort of treating him like shit. But it's still like a bumbling rom-com kind of where he's like, I need to get out of the house. Is someone going to call the cops? It's funny. And then like, I don't even know. But also
this is when they have the, this is when they have the werewolf movie conversation and talk about the Wolfman and Oliver Reed not being in that one. But it's interesting they bring up this thing that ends up not being the case, because he talks about how, in the Wolfman, the father killed the son, and how he thinks that maybe he has to be like a loved one that kills you, but that's not how the movie ends. Like she does
she's in
not.
front. She's in front of him.
Yeah.
Like she's like the one present by him though,
Yes.
while he dies at least. So it keeps half with the theme.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's his
and
NYU shirt.
her presence gives him pause.
Yeah.
Like he ultimately leaps at her, but it's like it seems like there's like a little bit of seeing her that does.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't like, it wasn't like Werewolf by Night where like it's like I recognize your smell, so I won't kill you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the I assume that's his NYU shirt that she's wearing the morning after as a sleep shirt, and then he's wearing the next day. And then man, basically she goes to work and he doesn't have anything to do. So he's like pacing around the house and doing silly things, watching TV. We watched a couple shows for a while. Not only do we watch a porno later on for multiple scenes, but we watched
See You Next Tuesday, which was made for this movie.
It was. And then, but then also like that weird expose on some woman and her nudes and like being a celebrity. Remember he watches that like advertisement for like a sort of a celebrity profile show coming up. And that was like, I don't know, sort of weird. Not for nothing. Not for nothing. Now, David Naughton's name constantly reminds me of the Polly-O string cheese commercial, which is like, hey, Jimmy, give me a pizza and hold the tomato sauce. Hold the tomato sauce. Hold the crust. Hold the crust. Hey, Louie, give me a pizza with Naughton.
I do recall this.
So there we go. That's what I think of when
your one-man show of that commercial.
David Naughton. Okay, so, but then it's like, we cut to her at work dealing with that kid who says no to everything. And
is that the kid who reads the Laurel and Hardy comic book? Because that was fascinating to me.
I don't have no idea.
There's a moment where this kid's reading a Laurel and Hardy comic book,
but
only in England.
The way that the werewolf hits David is so
good.
God, like he's just sitting there.
It's a zoom in on him reading. He's reading a book.
His brain explodes,
and he screams, "Jesus Christ!"
And it's like we have no context. Like we have no idea what this is feeling like for him. What's happening to like? Is it his brain? Is it his whole body? Like everything just it's like not a gradual buildup. Like, hey, I'm not feeling well today. It is an instant. It takes instant effect and like it makes his body completely burn up to the point where he has to get all of his clothes off and then enter the werewolf, the historic practical effects for the makeup of the werewolf transformation scene, which again trumps the Howling transformation,
which were quite good,
which is quite good. But also I think because, as mentioned last week, it combines Naughton's performance with it, his excruciating pain that he's going through in the transformation. Which is to say the Howling transformation, it seemed like it was no big deal. It just takes a long time. Like they're like, hey, wait right there. I need to transform into a werewolf. All right, here we go. And this is like, no, this is absolute agony.
Screaming agony. Yeah.
Like, and it takes a while. And it's almost like torture porn at this point, like what he has to go through.
And the Blue Moon, unlike the end credits where it's like, played as sort of like a strange, like tonal, like goofiness. Here it's playing like darkly, I don't even want to say comic, but it's like this, like the music being like this, not matching, except that of course it's Blue Moon, but like not matching what's happening to him makes it actually more disturbing. It's like, that all this is happening while this song is playing. Yeah. And he's just screaming in agony. And then, just like, even though the Howling did parts of this, even like, more impressive as far as like the snout growing, seeing the ears grow, the hair grow, like just watching on camera things that they would always used to have to cheat and do like, cutaways or, transitions for.
The extending parts, I think, were like the hand and the ankles and like the feet and like the torso, the part where he's laying on his back and like his torso is extending, like those parts were just like awesome to see. Like, and again, you can imagine too that they are painful, like having to do that like as slowly as they happen.
He's growing. He's not just getting a furry. He's like, his body is growing. Yeah.
So, just amazing sequence. And then like even we can say that the murders he commits, there's comedic elements to them because like the guy in the subway is like, like this is unnecessary. I'll report, very properly British.
I shall report this.
Yeah, I shall report this. bit harsh, you know, this murdering.
That man, he's standing next to an ad for See You Next Tuesday, the nonstop orgy, the porno movie that will play at the end of the movie.
That I don't know what that scene was in that porno where the guy walks in and he winds up
it's very funny.
And he winds up not knowing either of them.
That plays like a scene from a Kentucky Fried Movie. And if people haven't seen Kentucky Fried Movie, which is like it's Abraham Zucker wrote it, but Landis directed it, and it's just a sketch comedy with like wacky things and a wacky porn parody called Catholic High School Girls in Trouble. So that feels like a weird...
that also had Hardware Wars, right? Like the Star Wars parody.
No, Hardware Wars wasn't in Kentucky Fried Movie. That was its own thing.
It was a separate thing. Okay.
Separate thing. But that porn seems like a outtake. It's not, but it was made for this movie, but it seems like an outtake from that kind of sensibility of like, the guy being like, what are you doing here? That it turns out he's just in the wrong house.
Yeah. And he doesn't know either of them, but he has to talk to each of them to realize.
And nor does he, and he doesn't join them like a porno movie. He just is like, oh, sorry.
He's like, all right, place. Bye. Yeah, man. I want to see a full version of that. I mean, look, everything's coming back. Wait till we find out that straight to series order for Peacock is a See You Next Tuesday series.
At Horror Nights, when they did two things I want to mention, but when we did press events for American Werewolf at Horror Nights that were funny was one they mentioned in Hollywood. I remember them mentioning how they did include, even though it's Universal, the Mickey figurine that's on the table when they showed the transformation when you walk by him screaming, because they're like, it's there, it's so prominent. Because it's like you can see Mickey during this legendary scene, but also they mentioned that the porn theater, they had it like they put posters up, but of course they can't show the porno, so they did it with like the projector light, like you're walking from the exits by the screen, so you just see like a projector light coming towards you. You don't see what's on the screen.
Right.
It worked well.
We should, since we mentioned Kentucky Fried Movie, we should mention also the 80s version of that, which was Amazon Women on the Moon, which was another sort of like star-filled raunchy sketch movie that combined John Landis and Joe Dante, by the way, if we're talking about the Howling, the werewolf directors.
And they both did Twilight Zone, the movie segments.
All right. That's right. Joe Dante did one. Okay.
Yeah.
So he just gets going with the murders. He kills a couple. He kills a trio of hobos. And
one of the things that got cut from this movie was the actual murder of the. There was more to the sex scene, which is still in 2022 more than you ever see in like a mainstream movie sex scene. But also the hobos. The reason they're like killed off screen is that got cut.
Okay, I thought they were having sex. I was like, they cut the hobo sex scene. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, maybe they cut that as well.
But are they Dirty Mike and the boys?
They definitely cut them getting killed. So.
I do wish they were Dirty Mike and the boys who like just have sex in people's parked cars.
What's that from?
The other guys.
Oh, okay.
Remember they keep having sex in Will Ferrell's car?
Oh, I do remember
that. He keeps chasing them out, and I think it's David Koechner. He's like, "We will have sex in your car." And it's anyway. So anyway, but yeah, and I do remember one of the most like the image that stuck out after the transformation that sticks out the most to me from this movie from when I was a kid was the shot of the escalator going up and the werewolf creeping into frame, because they hold off on werewolf reveal, like body reveal. You see a face a lot, close-ups on the face, but you don't see the body. And that was sort of the first time that you catch from a faraway distance. Yeah. Where it's like, what does this look like? How do they stand upright? Are they dog-like?
It's a very cool shot. Yeah. Very effective. And then he wakes up in the zoo, which is a disorienting scene, and the scene where my Blu-ray froze. But also, he's quite naked, and I have to say, David Naughton going for it, not just in that he's fully naked, but he has to climb and jump, like he has to like get.
Yeah, it's well, look, being a song and dance man, be a pepper too.
I guess he's free with his body.
Naughton shows his pepper in full display. It's not for Naughton that he's naked. But then we get the a naked American man stole my balloons line, as far as like a scene that we're probably, I don't know that it would be eliminated nowadays because it's an awkward scene to wake up anywhere public naked.
Yeah.
But the interaction with a small child in a bush, I think they would
it's
find
funny
a different way
because
to do that now, but yeah,
because when he says little boy with the balloons come over here and the kid shakes his head no. I mean, they knew at the time like how that would play. I think if you did this scene now, you'd even more have to play into him knowing how bad this looks.
Well, now the kid would have to say, "No way, I'm going over there. You're naked." You know, he'd have to be like a Julian from the new Halloween trilogy,
right.
Kid, like a precocious kid who like actually references it.
Yeah.
And then he returns home, and then we learn that he has no memory of like anything, like the transformation, nothing from like the mid-afternoon on.
And so, he feels great, in fact.
Yeah, he's frisky, he's like horny, he's hungry, like he feels energetic.
He feels like strong
because he ate people. And and we should mention that since the werewolf attack, he hasn't had much of an appetite. Like that was established in the hospital, and he's like not really eating, and now he's finally eaten, so he feels good. And it's not long before he realizes he's the killer. Like all it takes is the cab driver being like, because Dr. Hirsch is like, hey, bring David to the hospital. But then the cab driver's like, oh, you hear about all the werewolves? And then he's like, what? And then leaves the car and is distraught. He's distraught being David Naughton, and he tries to get himself arrested, but then he just runs off into the city.
But the one weird thing is when the taxi driver is the one that like, because they neither of them have seen the news, so it's not like on their radar what's happening. But it is funny when I had to Google this because the taxi driver says when he says about these terrible killings have happened, and he says puts you in mind of the old demon barber of Fleet Street. So he's referencing Sweeney Todd, which made it sound like Sweeney Todd was real. But then I was like, was he? He's not. So I'm surprised it wasn't Jack the Ripper who was real. Sweeney Todd was always a fiction.
Or even like Spring-Heeled Jack, who you could say is like the London boogeyman, who's not real, but it's still more like someone who went around London killing people instead of just like a barber.
Because this guy says it as if like that was a real killings.
Well, we don't know the world of this movie, honestly.
That's true.
Nothing is fully built out. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, and so all it takes is like him to see the morning headlines to realize that he did this, and he's not wrong. Like he's comes off as crazy, but he's not wrong about, and he's also not wrong.
And then we should say this movie is only 96 minutes, and which is fine, but it's funny. It could be a little longer because there could be a version where it's like he's like happier longer with her, like, and doesn't realize he's doing this, but no, it's like
and then he's really into like, I need to be arrested, I need to kill myself. Like he puts a blade to his wrist, he's like considering it.
After he talks to his sister on the phone.
Very sad scene where he basically tries to say goodbye to his parents, but they're not even home. So like he has to pass the message along, knowing that not even like, because he plans to kill himself. It's not like he plans to go out and suicide by cop, right? Like he's not like, I'm not going to get gunned down tonight as a wolf. Like he doesn't want that. Like he does, but he just can't bring himself to do it. And then at that point, it's sort of,
I will say this is the only time, because we see them in the dream. We see that he has a little sister and brother in the dream, but acknowledging that David Naughton was like 31 when this came out, but clearly it's written to be like guys right out of college, like back.
No, I got the idea that it was like college grads, right?
Yeah. So he's he's playing a little. He looks a little old to have like these little kids siblings. It's okay. Yeah.
And then basically Jack leads him into a porn theater where they're playing See You Next Tuesday, where David gets
and now he's like skeletal Jack.
Yeah, he's skeletal Jack, where it's not even David in makeup. I mean, Griffin Dunn in makeup anymore. And he sees his recent kills from the night before, like all sort of coming at him. Like
the couple is very funny because
they're
so
like
friendly.
Gleefully thinking about how he could kill himself, like different ways to off himself.
A gun.
But then by that point, by the conversation, but it's too late at that point. I guess night fell very quickly, because in the theater he transforms and kills everyone in that theater. Like we don't need to see it. And then, it's funny because the third act of this movie contains all the werewolves. Like it not even like the full third act. It's kind of like the second half of the third act of this movie is werewolf rampage. And that's all he gets. We're so used to movies, like, especially like in the Marvel machine, the factory that they run in superhero movies. You need an action piece after 20 minutes. You need another action piece here. You need one here and one here. Like there is, I don't remember feeling that way until like I think Age of Ultron, where I was like, oh, this action scene is here because they needed an action scene here. But like this movie, you get kind of the one, and it's right at the end.
Well,
And
two things I want to say is that one is when the cop comes into the theater and he's killed everyone. First of all, like some of it's in the shadows, but it's like super gory. Like some like he finds like one of the bodies like torn apart, but then he actually sees the wolf eating someone else. But then the end, it's funny because as quick as it is, it's like super impressive that this 1981, yes, it was Universal, but obviously this wouldn't be like a huge budget, giant movie for them. They really filmed in Piccadilly Circus, which I was reading how it's like they only got, it was like it's a rarity at the time. It's still a rarity. It's hard to, it's like Times Square. It's a very difficult place to shut down. And they only got permission because the people who had to sign off on it love the Blues Brothers. And they had to do it in the middle of the night and could only shut down traffic for like very, very short periods of time to do this. But so it's very impressive that it's actually in Piccadilly Circus, obviously isn't faked. But also it's funny because very briefly, and I know you haven't seen this movie in a long time and neither have I, but it's like Blues Brothers has like a legendary car crash sequence.
The police car pileup.
Yes.
Yes,
and this briefly evokes that because yes, he kills people, but his presence causes all this other horrific car, like it's like a Final Destination sequence.
Yeah, it is. And like you could argue that as many people die in this car pileup than die from being eaten by him in the movie theater or like after, because like people fly through windshields, people get run over,
a cop gets pinned between two cars.
Yeah, it is a very exciting and sort of like deviantly fun sequence as far as like the chaos that he creates, bursting out of the movie theater, biting the cop's head off.
Yes.
And like his werewolf rampage isn't long. Like it is literally like he gets cornered in an alley after causing a few minutes of chaos. And then, he's gunned down. But
Alex pushes her way through the police
there's
line.
enough time, and you can buy it, I guess. There's enough time for her to like take a cab from the hospital and get out and run, burst through the cops. So maybe it's like a few minutes for us, but maybe like 10 minutes or 15 minutes have gone by of this chaos and being, cops arriving on the scene to like form a blockade and corner this creature in an alley where he sort of sits and waits so that she can get through. And then, it's just gunned down and there's David dead. And then bob a bob a bang. Like, it's just...
Yeah, it's like, again, because his rampage, his death, certainly his death, it's like it's played straight. It's like, I think, we're it's like we're meant to like, this is a tragic thing. And, these two main characters were certainly treated as like, characters to invest in and their relationship. So it's not like, but then, yes, like the movie having the tonal thing of like, cutting to like the darkly comic thing of that song playing, version of that song.
It's not even the version that we heard when he transformed. It's like the weird pop doo-wop.
It's the peppiest, the Be a Pepper version of that song you can play.
Great movie. Jenny Agutter also very good in this movie. Like everyone's really good. Again, sort of a smallish cast and just a very simply done werewolf movie about, and what helps this movie work is that tone, the comedic, because it makes it feel like regular guy who maybe could exist in our world. Obviously it's still heightened for movies. This is what happens. You've just become a werewolf and it sucks. And like, but this is a guy, he doesn't live in a castle. Like he's not like, it doesn't happen hundreds of years ago. This is right now, happening in the 80s. Some guy, like, it could happen to you. And it sucks. And it's still a curse. Again, we're back. I don't know where Ginger Snaps falls. I assume since they're a gang that they kind of like it. That's my pre-assumption, is that they enjoy being werewolves. So maybe back to a howling situation, but we'll find out next week. But An American Werewolf in London is a very, like, I recommend it for spooky season, even though it's like not traditionally like, it is horror, but it's totally sort of a two steps to the left from that. But I really like this movie.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like I said, it's like it's skill and luck, because it's very easy for this to have not worked. And and I'm sure that it wouldn't be for everybody because it's like tonally so smashing things together. But yeah, it's very successful from where I sit, but many people too, because it does both those things very, very well. And we should mention again Rick Baker's makeup, how great it is. The fact that this would be the year when the Oscars would introduce best makeup as the category, and this would win the first ever Oscar for best makeup, which is awesome, and goes on to be frustrating because horror movies often get overlooked in that category now. And it's like I'm thinking about this year, and where there's things like Barbarian and X that have the amazing makeup that won't get nominated, but like a costume drama's makeup will. So that can be frustrating, but I'm glad, and it's not always the case, but I am glad that American Werewolf was the first ever to win that category.
Did you ever see After Hours with Griffin Dunn, the Scorsese movie?
I've never seen that. No, I've never
me
seen
neither. That was so we're talking about Griffin Dunn earlier. That was like the big 80s thing for him, was this movie After Hours, and I'd never seen it. It was apparently is a rare is it a comedy?
I think it's comical.
Okay, yeah.
Scorsese.
Yeah, didn't watch it. But yeah, always been interested in it. Don't know
when
I'll get around
a good director. So
yeah, if we can only get him into the MCU, then his career, I think, will be set.
Catherine O'Hara,
he can stop languishing in indie obscurity. That Martin
He's gonna
Scorsese.
do an episode of Wonder Man, is what I hear.
Did you say Catherine O'Hara? What are you talking about?
The cast of After Hours. The cast of After Hours includes Richard, includes Cheech Marin and Catherine O'Hara.
Oh, my dream duo.
Oh, John Hurd and Catherine O'Hara. So both the Home Alone parents are in that movie. That's where the magic began.
Is this about them meeting?
This is the McAllister origin
soon
story.
We're going to leave our kid alone. Yeah.
Yes.
Will Patton.
Wait, Cheech and Chong. Cheech and Chong.
I was going to say it would be one for weird in the 80s for one.
Bronson Pinchot, Dick Miller, Joe Dante's favorite. Okay, now we're just listing everyone.
Wow,
but it's an interesting.
Oh, you're doing my thing. Yeah, Will Patton.
And Martin Scorsese is in the movie.
Wow, Tommy Chung gets a huge at least on Wikipedia, gets a big he's like 5 people ahead of Cheech. So
I don't know if that's how it is in the
all right. Until next time, when we talk about the old ginger snaps, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shockma.
Shockma.
Shockma!